Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NPCs Weekly News Roundup. It is August 28th, 2021. Tonight, we will be talking about the Halo Infinite release date finally dropping, and of course, a couple key features of that game missing at launch. We'll also be talking about the change to Overwatch hero McCree, and that upcoming name change related to the Activision Blizzard lawsuit. And of course, lastly, we will be talking about the announcement of a Saints Row reboot. Surprised us all coming out of Gamescom. Of course, we've got that and plenty others to talk about in tonight's news, so we're going to roll our intro and get things started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NPCs Weekly News Roundup for the week of November 20th, 2020. It is Friday. It is, where's my date? It's September 18th, 2020 here to our first story, and this is actually breaking news for all of us right now here, too. Figured this is a kind of a big one to cover, of course, with who it is. Joined via Discord by Kyle because we're in the midst of a pandemic still, and of course, everything is all kinds of crazy. So this thing is a chonker. I mean,
yeah, it's a beast.
It's huge. Doing that we had the Resident Evil stuff, that they were successful with Castlevania. Welcome to another NPC's Weekly News Roundup. And it's the news time. I am joined, of course, by Kyle via Discord. Kyle, hello.
What's up?
Man. That's right. It is news time, and my earbud is starting to fall out of my ear, so you get to all see that, of course. Welcome, everybody. It is Saturday. It is August 28th. We are almost... we're literally at the end of the summer now, and it's all kinds of chaos here in this world itself, of course. But welcome. You decided to go ahead and spend your Saturday evening with us. I'm Travis, and of course, via Discord on that side of the screen is Kyle.
What's up?
What's up? Indeed, dude. So, as we were talking, of course, before we were going to be starting the news here anyway, though, is that we realized that we need to make a change up here to our format going forward a little bit. So, of course, we obviously, of course, with our previous news live streams, it's always been bringing up a news article. It's been reading off the news article basically verbatim from these other news groups themselves, you know, like Kotaku, Polygon, The Verge, VG247, all these different video game news outlets. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's something that we've realized that maybe we just need to start looking more as just a point of reference and give at least us a little bit more of a take.
I'm recording.
So yeah, it looks like Kyle's getting a visitor there. So
yeah,
your dad's
sorry.
popping in. But even so, we just feel that we need to make ourselves a change here, of course. So we're going to be kind of just going through at least some of the news that we thought was important. Of course, we got some videos to bring up about some of the things as well, too, that we're going to be talking about. So we'll bring those up as well. But we're going to be trying this out. If you like what you're seeing, of course, drop us a comment to let us know. If you don't like what you're seeing, drop us a comment anyway, to any of the feedback here that we get always gets incorporated. You know, we do the best we can to make sure that we can do that. But if so, you know, with that, of course, we want to carry on and talk about our first story here. So our first story tonight, Kyle, is Halo Infinite. So you, of course, are the one who decided to go ahead and spam Walmart's website, right?
I did.
Try.
Well, and beyond Walmart's website, ended up spamming Target's website, and actually had one in my cart, and I actually went through the checkout, and my bank stopped it because they thought it was a fraud charge for $583 or $82.99 or something like that. So I had one of the consoles, but I don't. So that's fun.
So for anybody who doesn't know, obviously what we're talking about, that was kind of an interesting way to kind of segue into that. So Halo Infinite, first and foremost, has a release date officially announced, and we'll be seeing Halo Infinite drop on December 8th, which is only about 3 weeks after its 20th anniversary, having launched in November of 2001 alongside the original Xbox. Kyle, can you believe we've been playing this game series now for, I mean, we think about like Mario, we think about Zelda, it's like one of those things, it's kind of whatever, but like Halo, 20 years now, dude. I mean,
I know.
Weird to just think about.
It's not that much younger than like Mario, than Zelda.
No, it's really not. No,
I mean,
it's not.
You think about it when it's like, you know, 10 years and, you know, Mario's like 25 or whatever. That's a lot, but now doesn't seem like all that much. Technology, man. Leaps and
So
bounds, I guess, right?
agreed. So what we're talking about here, of course, is that Kyle really tried to snag it because he does not have any of the Xbox Series hardware. Is this bad boy right here on the right? So Microsoft is going to be releasing their first custom Xbox Series X, their first limited edition one, celebrating Halo Infinite and, of course, the 20 years of Xbox and Master Chief. So on the right, of course, they are going to be releasing it. You can actually see the color pattern there. Matches not only kind of the look of Master Chief's armor, more so like in the actual shapes. Of course, you get the Starfield with it as well too, and a matching controller. But you also get power up and power down sounds on the Series X that sound exactly that have like Halo specific sounds.
And some of the more unique features, though, is the Starfield actually carries into the fan grill and onto the fan. And they actually changed that green accent. So
Yeah, they changed that to a blue one.
yeah,
Which I thought was pretty cool itself, though, too. I thought blue, in my mind, blue's interesting. I figured they would have stuck with
yeah.
green just because it's like green, Master Chief. They kind of go together. But it's just interesting that that was the choice
But
they made because I think blue, I
they
think
went with
PlayStation,
yeah, but they went with the Halo 3 uh looking controller for the Pro controller or the Elite controller, and it's not a new controller. It's actually still a Gen 2.
Yep. So on the left over here, I know it's a little tougher to see, of course. I'll try to get my mouse to zoom in on that or at least circle around that a bit here. But yes, alongside that, you have the option to go ahead and pick yourself up a Elite 2 Halo Infinite Special Edition controller. And I gotta say, that is a very gorgeous controller. I think that's probably one of the best looking designs outside of the Forza one that they announced at Gamescom this weekend too, or this last
It
week too.
it is, but I mean the Forza one's just a standard um Xbox Series controller as well. And
It
I
is.
don't know. I like the one that goes with the console personally. I feel like the newer controller it is oddly reminiscent of the Halo 3. I want to say it was hardware. Yeah, I think it was Halo 3, wasn't it? Or was it Halo 2 that they put out that hardware?
You're talking like for the special edition Xbox and that?
Yeah,
Or
for the 360.
well, Halo 2 was an Xbox game, an
Then it
original
was 3.
Xbox game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
so
was
Halo
3 because
3,
Halo
yeah.
when they did 2, they did the green Xbox One, right? Or Xbox original,
So
excuse me.
I remember there being a Halo Reach edition of the Xbox 360, but it was the second
Hmm.
gen of the 360, the more
And
slimmed down hardware.
I
And
had one of
then
those and burned it
yeah,
up.
there you go.
Yeah.
But then Halo 2 had a special edition Xbox that was green and translucent. That was the
Yeah.
console. Yeah.
I
So it
want
had
to say
that.
though there was something that was Halo themed that was this same design and everything. I maybe I'm wrong. It reminds me of some older Halo hardware.
It kind of does. I think a lot of it is just the fact that like Master Chief is getting back to the original kind of color and design palette that
Hmm.
we've known, especially when you look at the type of armor that he's wearing now in Halo Infinite, especially because everything went and kind of like dug into more of like a massive overhaul in regards to that armor that he was wearing in Halo 2 and Halo 3. And what
Right.
we saw in 4 and 5 was a huge like divesting away from that branding, I suppose. And now Infinite is coming back around and saying, well, we're going to give Master Chief some upgrades, but we're going to make him more recognizable with what he was originally. And I think that's fair, especially because Halo 4 and 5 were
Yeah.
such a weird divestment away in the storyline. I think it's good to be going back to kind of the roots that Halo has been, or at least, was.
But speaking of upgrades, it's a missed opportunity to not come out with a Series 3 Elite controller that has the share button, that has, some of the features fixed that they were having issues with the Gen 2.
That's
So
also fair. That is
I
actually
don't
a fair
know.
one too, but
Especially, at the price point, I think that one is it $250 for the controller?
200.
200.
Yeah, the
Still,
controller's
it
going.
it is more
Yeah.
expensive than the Series 2 controller. which I want to say is what 2 or 180.
Probably. I don't
I
remember
think
the
they're
original price.
179 if I'm not
But
mistaken.
yeah, I think you're right. I think part of the problem is that maybe Microsoft recognized that for them to be able to create a third gen Elite controller, that because of the global chip shortage right now, because of sourcing parts and such, that it was easier for them to just do a new theme over the top of the existing one instead of
Hmm.
trying to make a new one. I wouldn't be shocked if they're making a new one right now.
That's true.
But for them
That's
to do
true.
something like this, at least is nice. But I do actually expect them not only to be doing the Elite controller, though. I expect them to actually be doing the Halo Infinite controller standalone as well. I expect that to be actually on sale on its own at some point in the near future too. Especially because, like you found out, all of the pre-orders are gone. You can't
Oh
pre-order
yeah.
either the Elite 2 controller. You can't pre-order the Series X. So something's going to have to give, and they're going to end up having to release potentially either more, or they're going to have to do some sort of separation on things, especially. But
Yeah, and
even so,
I fought even at Walmart to they have the click and hold thing or press and hold, and I fought on my phone via just regular wireless, not even Wi-Fi connection, and then also through my computer trying to get one through Walmart after the Target fiasco, and they they were gone. So
absolutely, it's
yeah.
you think about how fast people are moving to be able to secure stuff, and as soon as those went live, as soon as the pre-orders went
Hmm.
live, eBay just stacked with people reselling them already, and you're talking like
Yep.
above $1,000 per console. And again, it's just the
Yeah, I
same thing
think the
over again.
average right now is right around $995 to about $1,075 is average.
Well, I'm glad I've got
There
my
there are
just
still some higher
like
than that and
I'm
some
glad I've got my
lower.
release Series X though. I'm glad I've got my day one release Series X. It's running just fine. Probably need to pull it
Right.
out of the cabinet and actually clean it though. But that's a whole other thing. But one of the other things though, let's talk about this because we didn't do the news last week.
Right.
Is that one of the things that came out last week during 343 Industries developer update for the month of August is that they
Hmm.
talked about Halo Infinite will not launch with Forge or campaign co-op. Campaign co-op is not expected to release until probably February or March of next year, and Forge will not be coming out until probably at least the beginning of next summer. And I mean, Forge is kind of one thing. I get that for people who like to make their own stuff, but campaign
There's a
co-op
lot of
kind of
people that like
hurts.
to make their own stuff though.
Agree. I agree. I'm not trying to kind of disparage any of that or trying to
Yeah.
talk like make any less of that. I'm just saying though, is I think that campaign co-op missing from the actual launch window is just a shock, especially because that's a mainstay feature
Hmm.
of Halo. I mean, that's been the way it's been since day one. You know that we've had the ability to plug in and play campaign co-op. You know, I mean,
Side
being
by
able to play with
side.
4 people, yeah, side by side. And I don't know if one of their problems is that maybe they're running into a resource contention where they're in testing with it and they're like, well, we can't handle having 2 people on the same screen playing this game at the same time. Something's going on with the way things are rendering in, and we have to, excuse me, we have to do something. We have to do something different down the line. And that's my guess
Right.
is that they're probably going to be trying to fine tune it where the resources are balancing out better.
I think it's a time constraint thing personally.
Well, they did have to
It
delay,
just
so it
the
wouldn't shock me
yeah,
either.
I mean, well beyond the delay. I mean, we've had, people in and out of the office for the past going on almost 2 years, Um that can't really be good for, a game coming out on time. I mean,
True.
especially
That's very true.
such a big game and they don't want to miss on this one. So
Mm-mm.
you're going to have a team that's going to want to work real tight together, even if they have to be remote. That's going to put time constraints on people. And so I think that they're putting out what they can as much as they can. I mean, they are launching their free multiplayer. So that is one thing that they're trying to put a lot of focus on. And I mean, they've got the beta going on, well, off and on, I should say. I think they're gonna do another one here soon.
Yeah, they've got the next round of technical preview coming up too, and then they've got,
Hmm.
I don't know if it's closed beta or open beta related to like pre-orders, but I know that they've got something coming up soon. I mean, I know Battlefield 2042's got something coming up soon as well.
Hmm.
So maybe they're trying to plan it around that window so that way they don't get stepped on by Battlefield 2042's open beta. So
Right.
we'll just have to watch and see what happens there. But that's it, at least right now on the Halo news front. Again, December 8th, we're going to see that game drop. Of course, there is that collector's edition console and elite controller. If you have some weird way of being able to snag it, go and do so. I know Kyle will probably try to keep on hitting refresh to see what he can do to get one.
I've
But even
given up
so,
at this point again.
okay, that's
Um,
fine. Just
I'm
pick up
gonna
a
enjoy
series.
the fact that my PC is still on top for I think it's another month or two, and then
I hate that. I hate that so
yeah,
much. Yeah.
because the Super's coming out, so they can do like 400 more teraflops than I can.
I think you'll be fine with what you've got.
I'm pretty sure I will be.
Well, that's enough about Halo right now. Let's go ahead and hop in here to our next story on this list, and it's talking about the shock, like one of the bigger shocks, because Gamescom has been this week. Of course, there's a lot of
Mhm.
things announced, and for us to condense it into one newscast is just not possible. And so I've kind of grabbed a couple of the interesting things. Of course, Halo's one of the big ones right now. Destiny, of course, they talked about a lot of the new stuff, but one of the big surprises I think is Saints Row getting a reboot more than anything. I mean, what do you think about that, Kyle? You know?
I never got really into the Saints Row series. Don't hate me, but it wasn't really ever my thing.
I, I didn't either. I thought, I was a GTA fan growing up, and that's kind of funny to say with how, GTA is not supposed to be marketed to kids, but it's like, man, that's a game I want to play still. But anyway, um,
Right.
Saints Row, of course, really looked like that, but then a lot of the goofiness is what got me interested, but I never actually still played it though, because, things like the dubstep gun, the dildo bat, all of that different stuff that they actually had. Um, it was just things that was just like, okay, that's really, really goofy and really over the top. I just, it's not something that wants like that I want to bring in, or that I want to play. But something about
Right.
this though, where they've recognized at least, like Volition actually said, the Volition being the devs of Saints Row actually came out and said that they went so far into Saints Row with the fourth
Mhm.
game that they didn't know really how to proceed forward. They basically put themselves into a creative corner and had to
Well,
figure out what to do next.
yeah, I think even one of the devs said, we've done everything. We even, made you president and you in the game, by taking over the universe at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And they send you to hell for Christ's sakes, and you rule hell. So how much further can they go? But a reboot at this point, and I think going with a more, I mean, it's still goofy, but a more real, well, not realistic, more grounded, I should say, goofy. Um, I think it'll work for the series.
I think so too. I really do think so. And I got the trailer, of course, the cinematic announcement trailer specifically playing here behind us. Um, but this, like, not knowing enough about the Saints Row storyline and such, it's enough to at least be able to watch it and say, okay, not this specifically, but the rest of the Saints Row stuff to understand just how goofy things got and kind of where things stood. But part of my issue nowadays, especially, is just what Fortnite has kind of done to the industry itself. And I can't help but look at this and actually see something like Fortnite esque when watching this. I don't know what it is about it necessarily, but there's something about it that just kind of gives off
I think it's the art
those
style.
vibes. It could be a lot of the color style in that is part of it, but
Oh yeah,
it
well,
just
I
feels
think
like it.
it's real common for it, or it's more common for games to use these color palettes that use the dark um with the really bright vibrant lights, the pinks, the hot colors, in the lights and stuff. Um but more dark soft colors for the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I think that's part of it is, and that's a big Fortnite thing is they do that. So
mhm. Yeah, that's just how it feels. But I do at least appreciate that the devs realized that they needed to um, kind of have a discussion at least and think about what they needed to do next. Um, that it's like, okay, well, we realize we can't really proceed on with Saints Row and make something bigger, and that's a good direction for them to take. Um, I am curious to see more. I know that there is another video floating around that actually shows off some in-game stuff as well too, some actual gameplay. But it's still, of course, a little rough around the edges as they're trying to figure out everything else as it goes on. But it definitely, if you go watch that gameplay video, not only you, Kyle, but everybody else watching, though, go and check out that gameplay video, and you can kind of see that it's like, okay, this fits back into the Saints Row motif, just as it has over years past. So I think it's really cool. But an interesting one, of course, is that they already do have a release date for it, and that's going to be February 25th. So what's interesting, of course, is that February is going to be a rather busy month for games, especially for what's been pushed out so far. So you got Saints Row.
oh yeah.
You've got.
Oh, do you have the list up?
No, I don't. I know there's Saints Row, Horizon Zero Dawn, which we talked about, previously. But yeah, if you can find the list, I know there's a whole mess of other ones out there too. That it's not just Saints Row, Saints Row and Horizon. Ghostwire Tokyo, I think, got pushed out to February. God, what else is there now? Why am I blanking so much on this?
Yeah, I'm pulling up a list right now, trying to see if I can find anything. But yeah, Horizon Forbidden West, Destiny 2, the Witch Queen,
That's the expansion.
Sifu,
so that's Destiny, yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Sifu is coming out
Okay,
on the
that's
22nd. That's
Okay.
a big one. I thought looked really cool. Saints Row the 25th. Let's see. King of Fighters 15's the 17th. Blood Bowl is supposed to be that month, as well as Evil Dead and Vampire the Masquerade.
That's
So
8 games in 1 month.
yeah. And
Wow.
they're all as far as I know, everything as the rumors have it, all have them releasing right around the same 2-week period.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
okay. Well, that's what's
So
interesting then.
expect to explode your wallet at the end of February.
It makes me wonder, though, if we're going to start seeing games get pushed out as we get closer to February, that we're going to start seeing things kind of stagger because of this potential conflict.
And that's the funny part too, though, is like Vampire the Masquerade, that one's tentative to February, but that one's been pushed back twice now?
Yeah.
Evil Dead's been has that one been pushed back? I don't think that one's or
I
Blood
don't think
Bowl.
so. I think that one actually was going to be an original release then. I think that one was already set for that time period.
Yeah, and I don't think Blood Bowl has any delays either. So but Vampire the Masquerade, it has to basically release. I mean, if they're trying to hit that February deadline, unless they're gonna suffer some catastrophic event like a cyberpunk event, then I see them kind of having to hit that deadline because they've pushed back already.
Yeah,
So
I see about the same there too. I just think that we're going to start seeing some more things start to get stretched out, because what you're going to start seeing is that impact on where people are going to want to spend their money at. And I think Saints Row is going to be one of them for sure. I actually see Destiny, of course, is still a very popular game. So people are going to go and buy that expansion, especially now with the introduction of weapon crafting as well too. So I think it's going to be very busy and a very big fight for players' money.
Maybe that's the other side of it too, though, is being that Vampire the Masquerade is tentative, they might try and only shove it a month back or a month forward. Just so they don't have to contend with all the rest of the titles.
Right.
Because there's a lot of big titles already that are coming out that month.
Exactly.
So.
Well, okay. Well, that's about Saints Row. That's about some of those release things there. Man, I actually will probably give this Saints Row a try, though. I think I'll give that one a shot.
I don't know. I'll have to see more on it as it gets closer to release, but I don't know. I'll
Yeah.
eventually probably end up trying it, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, let's hop in here and talk about this next one then, at least on the list. Um, of course, for a lot of you that have watched us, at least, talk about news and talk about our games on the podcast, especially, we've been big fans of Overwatch for a long time. We've been, Kyle and I both have the same Lucio hoodie. We got a lot of Overwatch stuff. Of course, I can see his May pop vinyl there. I've got all of my Overwatch stuff. I got to move my finger to the right spot on this little shelf here, kind of behind my head. I got all my Overwatch like pop vinyls and figures in that, of course. But obviously, we've been in the midst of the Activision Blizzard lawsuit here that got filed on July 20th. So a lot of people who may not be aware, if you're not aware, I'd be a little surprised. But of course, Activision Blizzard's being sued for sexual harassment, discrimination, mistreatment of women devs at Blizzard itself. So there's been a whole list of ramifications on things. A lot of people have left the company. A lot of information has come to light that wasn't even a part of the original suit, and things have been amended and getting changed. One of the key things, of course, that happened is that Blizzard is actually being accused of shredding documents now as it relates to the investigation. So they got called out on that by the state of California. And of course, their choice of the law firm representing them for this, Wilmer Hale, or not representing them, but is acting kind of as their investigative body, their internal investigative body, to come in and kind of audit the practices and resources, is kicking off a wave of complaints as well too. That them having those lawyers there and having employees talk to those lawyers sets up this client-lawyer confidentiality that then doesn't allow the state of California to do its investigation properly. But that's kind of the gist of where things have changed, at least in the recent weeks. But, of course, one of the big things that we had happen here is from the Overwatch team here, of course, they made a change, or at least we'll be making a change here soon, to rename the character McCree. So their statement reads, I'm only going to read about part of this. As we continue to discuss how we best live up to our values and to demonstrate our commitment to creating a game world that reflects them, we believe it's necessary to change the name of the hero currently known as McCree to something that better represents what Overwatch stands for. We realize that any change to such a well-loved and central hero in the game's fiction will take time to roll out correctly, and we'll share updates as this work progresses. In the near term, we had planned to kick off a narrative arc in September supported with the new story and game content of which McCree was a key part. Since we want to integrate this change into that story arc, we will be delaying the new arc until later this year and instead launch a new free-for-all map this September. And here's the big part. Going forward, in-game characters will no longer be named after real employees, and we will be more thoughtful and discerning about adding real-world references in future Overwatch content. So, Kyle, what do you think about that? What do you think about them changing the name, especially because we'll get into exactly where the name came from though, but what do you think about them changing it though? Do you think this is the right step for them to be doing stuff like this, or what?
I mean, you're gonna have people that are always gonna refer to him as McCree because that's what he launched as or whatever. I mean, it's fine. I think it's actually for the best, honestly, because the fact that they're if it's hurtful to someone that was actually harmed from this, then yeah, if it helps them, then yeah, I think that is for the best. But it doesn't bug me. I've seen name changes in games before, and it's not a big deal.
True.
I mean, in Overwatch League, we've already seen the announcers make the shift to calling McCree just the Cowboy right now. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's better than just saying the Cowboy, the Cowboy, the Cowboy,
That's true. I mean, we get people that refer to Winston as Harambe, so there's also that too,
Right. I mean, and that's
more of a meme than anything.
Politically,
yeah.
That's super politically incorrect,
Yeah, but we're used to the name changes, of course, but all of this is really it's in response to the lawsuit anyway. So McCree is named after former Blizzard developer Jesse McCree. Full name is actually that's what McCree in the game's name is, Jesse McCree. Mm-hmm. This developer went from working on Overwatch to working on Diablo 4. and was actually one of those pictured in what they called the Cosby Suite picture. And that's where a lot of potentially awful things were actually happening as things went on. Like, it was a lot of like BlizzCons is where these things happened. So that's
But it was
why,
a frequent reoccurring thing too.
true.
So.
Yeah, it became basically a meme, an internal meme of itself. So that's why they're making the name changes, because Jesse McCree ended up leaving. I don't know if he was fired or if he just left on his own choice, but that's why they're changing the name, is because he was one of those who came out, or at least was kind of put out there by victims in regards to everything that was going on. And of course, him being in that picture, and of course him being in other subsequent screenshots of like internal chats and that, though, too, talking, pretty disparaging things there, really doesn't lend himself to anything good there at all. So he's gone, and that's why the name change is happening. And I know there's kind of a mixed bag of responses right now too. I don't think everybody in the Overwatch community is on board with it. I think a lot of them are just like, it's like, it's great, that's one thing to do, but like, what about the main issue at hand right now? Like, what we're trying to actually have addressed. It's not really being taken care of, in that regard. So
No, I feel like this is just scratching the itch. It's
for the
not
short
really
term.
doing. Yeah, it's not really doing anything. I mean, short term, you can change anyone's name. It doesn't matter. I mean, the game's gonna be the game, but this isn't what's gonna change it in the long run. Uh, I think they need to come out with public announcements. What changes have been made. What actions have been taken, and what they're doing to go forward, and how they're going to address the lawsuit. They just need to come forward, because obviously they've already admitted guilt to the whole thing by letting people go, by the pictures are out there. There's stuff happening in the company. They're burning stuff, for God's sakes, and shredding stuff. So it becomes kind of scary. I mean, I've even heard rumors of the Blizzard name being liquidated.
Wait, what?
I said rumor, but I had heard that there could be possibility of a like the company name change, or something going on there. I did also pick up from Kotaku that Call of Duty Vanguard also had Activision's name missing from marketing.
Yes, it did. I actually went and looked at that trailer again too, and I saw that their name was missing, and I think only the devs were there. I don't think the actual like Activision logo was there at all, except in the subtext, like copyright Activision 2020 or 2021, excuse me. I forgot what year we were in there for a second. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There is that as well too. That's also a big problem. That it's like that stuff is disappearing, but it's like you really can't like strike a lot of that. But even a brand change is not going to fix the problem. The name change of a company is not going to fix the issue, because if the same people are still there running it and still there not, fixing the problem's still going to be there. It's just under another name. That's it. But I don't know. I think that's all there really is to say about the Activision Blizzard stuff. I think it's still just frustrating for both of us. I haven't touched an Activision Blizzard game now since things kicked off, but that's my own personal protest, though. So I don't know about you, though, Kyle.
I don't know. I just want it to be over. I want Blizzard to come forward, and they've already kind of admitted guilt, but at this point they need to go, hey, yeah, we've done some stuff, and we need to make amends now. We need to make some corrections. And if it is true that they're shredding stuff, well, they're walking a very fine, dangerous line there.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's
I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's madness. It's madness.
Well, speaking of madness, of course, let's move on to the madness here that actually has plagued me for a little while, and at the end of it all anyway, still doesn't even have a resolution here. So what I'm talking about, of course, is the Dr. Disrespect Twitch ban. So
yeah.
we are over a year since that happened. That happened in June of 2020, when Dr. Disrespect out of nowhere got banned on Twitch. Just like no word, nothing exactly as to why yet. We still haven't heard anything as to what exactly happened with it. But what we know now is that as of middle of this last week, that Dr. Disrespect has confirmed that he is suing Twitch and Amazon. Hasn't said for what exactly, hasn't actually spilled the details, but I'm sure that there's going to be more subtext. It's not just going to be suing because of the ban. It's going to be suing because of breach of contract for this.
But he knows, and he's made sure that people know that he knows. He won't say what it is, but he knows, and he wants people to know that he knows. So it's big.
Exactly. So let's talk about what people think they know about this. So yes, he did admit that he is suing them. He didn't really give a reason why, but a lot of the information that has come out so far from people that might know, might not know, but it's all been rather cohesive, at least as of late. So let's start off here at the beginning. So when he got banned, Twitch was in the midst of its Me Too movement, or at least the online gaming community was in the midst of a Me Too movement, where those who are like popular esports players, popular streamers and such were effectively getting caught in the act of doing things that they shouldn't have been doing, and subsequently not only getting banned from Twitch, but also getting sponsorships pulled, getting pulled from their esports teams, being investigated for all these different things. I mean, it basically was just a massive shit show of people getting themselves in trouble. One of them, of course, not even just Dr. Disrespect here, of course, was Ryan Haywood from the Rooster Teeth team from Achievement Hunter. And, of course, he got himself in trouble. He got himself basically kicked out of everything. He's completely shut down off of everything, which, frankly is good. That a sicko like that, of course, and a bunch of these other ones did get shut down, of course. You don't need to be out there on a platform like that with those types of problems. Well, this happened again. Dr. Disrespect getting banned was around that same time period. And, of course, Dr. Disrespect had gotten a temporary ban the year prior for a stunt at E3 where he was doing basically an IRL stream where he had a camera guy following him around streaming, and he ended up going into a public bathroom at E3, and the camera was rolling in that bathroom, and that's illegal against California state law. So he got a temporary ban. And a lot of people thought that the ban in June was related to potentially that, like that they decided that that was maybe not far enough and they decided to go ahead and ban on that, or potentially peddling some COVID-19 misinformation out there. So there was that. And then, no other information came to light of that. He got banned. He came back in August of 2020 to start streaming on YouTube. And since then, information has been rather sparse. But what we know after his announcement here, at least based on the rumors, now circling back around to present day, is that it may have all revolved around Mixer. So Mixer was a competing streaming platform for Microsoft that was on the Xbox. It brought over a couple high-profile streamers from Twitch. It brought over Shroud and Ninja. And when they came over, of course, to Mixer, they had some pretty lucrative contracts. I mean, you were talking like what, Kyle? I think Ninja had a contract for like between 10 and 15 million, and Shroud had something from like $7 to $10 million.
Yeah, it was something insane like that. Yeah. I would have to look up the numbers, but it was well over a couple. Over a couple million.
It was some big numbers there, especially to bring them over and to attract them to the platform. Well, what it looks like is that Dr. Disrespect may have been leveraging a potential offer from Mixer to do the same thing, because his contract renewal came up in March of 2020, 3 months before he got banned. And of course, after he was potentially mulling over this offer with Mixer, is that he used the value that Mixer was offering him to effectively renegotiate with Twitch on more money in his contract. And I guess they went around and did that. You know, he didn't say anything about Mixer being involved, but that's how he was able to go ahead and secure some more money. Well, about a week before he got banned is when the announcement came out that Mixer was going to be shutting down. It just wasn't driving enough traffic for Microsoft. They just realized that it wasn't worth the time and the investment, but they made a partnership with Facebook to start migrating people over to Facebook gaming to be able to go ahead and continue their streaming. So it's sort of a partnership thing to go ahead and start getting people migrated over. A lot of people went over to Twitch, but it was at this time that, of course, Shroud and Ninja decided to go ahead and shut things down on Mixer, and you know, they really weren't doing anything for that time period. They decided to take a little vacation. Well, it was about a week later, after the Mixer shutdown announcement was made, that Dr. Disrespect got banned, and of course then went subsequently to YouTube, because he made comments as they relate to that shutdown of Mixer about a couple, what was he? He kind of used like a metaphor there when he was talking to when he was talking to someone who donated on his YouTube stream. That a couple people, based on the metaphor he used, it sounded like that he was kind of referring to a couple people who came over to Twitch that may have required more money to be able to come over to Twitch, and because of that may have caused him to basically lose out on the money on his contract. And that was the easiest way for Twitch to be able to pay for these other people, was just go ahead and get rid of one to pay for two. So that's potentially where things sit. I know that was a lot. I see Kyle falling asleep over there. So
No,
I basically just gave the entire story of Dr. Disrespect and his ban and that, because it's something I've been following. I mean, I was a subscriber to Dr. Disrespect on Twitch. I watched his stream. Like I'd have my morning and early afternoon Minecraft stream that I have up and like listen to and tune into every so often. And then my afternoon was Dr. Disrespect. So I had my trade-off there, you know? But unfortunately,
I don't really do the Twitch thing as much. So I don't know a lot about the whole dynamic of everything, and you know, where everything comes from and whatnot. But I don't know. I just never got into some of the personalities, like, so I don't know.
It is. I agree. It is definitely kind of a nice, or it's a mixed bag of styles that you can come across on Twitch, because there's so many people doing it. And the pandemic brought so many people to streaming. It really did. So it's not a shock necessarily to see, you know, potential hesitance in trying to look for something, because there is so much variety out there. It's like, are these people just streaming and playing games? Are they characters, you know, of themselves? Are they parodying something? Like Dr. Disrespect is by far a good example. God, what is it? Miko, I think is her name. She's the one who uses like the full motion capture suit on herself, and then actually uses a motion capture character to portray herself instead of actually using herself. You know, there's that as well. I can't remember her actual name though. Nico, I can't remember. But I understand.
Are you thinking? Are you talking Hatsune Miku?
No.
I was gonna.
No.
No, I know what you're talking about. The VTuber, right? The VTuber.
Yeah. I can't remember her actual name though. But yeah,
I was gonna say, because that. Yeah, no. When you said Miku, I was like, what?
Yeah,
like
I'll
the Vocaloid?
It's not Hatsune Miku, but no.
No.
New PS5.
I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure, you know, that it's like, to at least specify there. Yeah, it's like, I understand. I get that from you. So, you know, about the confusion, you know, and kind of hesitance on going there because of how many people are characters. But anyway, to sum it up so we can move on into the next stories though, anyway, is that Dr. Disrespect announced it, and that's what the rumor is right now, is that they're suing because they believe Twitch acted in bad faith by banning him and by nullifying his contract, because they wanted to bring Ninja and Shroud potentially back. And so, of course, there's that. But, of course, they're also on the counter side saying that Twitch was within their rights to remove him because he acted in bad faith on negotiating his contract. Short and sweet to the point on that one. So that's the TLDR. But anyway, let's just carry on here. And this is another one of those things that comes out of Gamescom 2021. Kyle, oh my God, I don't know what to make of this. Okay. This is Doke V. Okay. I don't know what to make of this game. So Dokev is
The
a
characters are
Pokemon.
unsettling.
Yeah, Dokev is some sort of Pokemon-esque monster capture game, and it seems like it's got a very like vibrant open world type setting. It seems like there's a lot of adventures you can go on. It looks like it's made by some sort of Korean developer, because if you actually listen to the music itself in the trailer here, I don't have it going, of course, for fear of copyright strikes and that.
It is very K-poppy.
It is. It actually, you listen to it, it sounds like Korean. But even so, it definitely has the Pokemon vibe, of course, but it's in this weird over-the-shoulder third-person setting, and doesn't really explain, at least for this extended gameplay trailer, how you're capturing these creatures. It just seems like that when you're getting into these battles, you are effectively just like, they're just dropping in, and you're fighting at the same time as them. It's more that they're just like working alongside you to battle.
Well, and you have to transform into like a Power Ranger sometimes. I don't know what's going on there with that.
Yeah, it's like there's some type of like armor. Like if you actually look at the back of them too, it's like they have some sort of like weird vacuum, like Ghostbuster proton pack combo thing too. It's bizarre.
There's so much going on with this. There's parts of the art style that I really like, and then there's the children that, you know, they're the characters in the game. They're just unsettling looking to me. I don't know if it's like some weird uncanny valley type shit that's going on in my head, or what it is. I don't know.
I can't remember the name of them, but they like. Maybe if I describe it a little bit, you know, these statues, these little like statue things, like maybe no bigger than like 3 or 4 inches in height. They're these little kid statues that you could get for like your parents or your grandparents or something when you were like a little kid, and it's like I love my grandma type thing. Thank you. Yes, that is exactly it. That is what these guys remind me of. That is what these characters remind me of.
Yeah, they kind of do.
Yeah, and so you're like with the trailer going here behind us. You know, you're looking at these, it's like there's not really a lot of sense that's being made here about exactly what's happening in what exactly you're supposed to be doing. It's all over the place. I don't know.
Yeah, some K-pop RPG fight with a monster. I mean, the concept is really cool. The art style, like the world design is phenomenal. I don't even know what's going on with that.
Yeah, this does look gorgeous. Don't get me wrong.
The character design, like they try for this like weird ultra realism, but also dull type characters. I don't know. I'm kind of interested to find out more. I don't think I'll play it personally, and I think it's just specifically because I'm unsettled by the art style a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like the characters don't seem to necessarily match the world. I don't know. Maybe that's not necessarily true either.
Yeah, I don't know exactly
it's
what
weird.
to think about it. I agreed. I 100% agree.
And maybe it's just that it's really young children. Maybe that's what makes it weird. I don't know.
That could very well be it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Even Pokemon was like, you know, between like what 10 and 14-year-old kids. This looks like they're like 5 years old. Should they be on that longboard? Do I need to call their parents?
Yeah, should they be out like that doing all this? Let's see. So, I'm trying to see if I can actually find a breakdown here of explaining Dokev. Trying to find it here. Let's see. But Kotaku describes it here as Pokemon meets Pixar. I don't know if I'd do that. Let's see. I'm just
Alex said that the visual style and motion control makes him think rather terrible Universal Studios theme park adventure.
It really does have some of that vibrance of like being in a theme park. I can agree with a lot of that. Let's see. So, according to Kotaku, here's what they say. What we know so far is that Dokev is an open world game that focuses on collecting creatures. Kind of like Pokemon, except the human character is also capable of combat. Since the South Korean developer advertised the game as family-friendly in its trailer from 2019, 2019. I have to wonder if its target audience affected their decision to aim for the Pixar look. For those who are unfamiliar with Pearl Abyss's previous work, their high fantasy MMO Black Desert Online was considerably less child appropriate.
Weird. That's a weird turnaround.
Yeah, so they apparently announced DokeV in 2019. But I just don't get it. That this is just such a bizarre looking like thing. And I don't know exactly what to say about it. It's just,
yeah.
like, I do like some of their concept art looking stuff. Like, I found a couple things that actually made it look pretty cool. Like, like some of the concept art we've seen for like Overwatch, some of the concept art we've seen for God, I'm trying to think of some other games here that come to mind. There's some Final Fantasy stuff that comes to mind too. There's some of that art style that they have for their concept art that looks really good. But at the end of it anyway, it's kind of, besides that, I just don't know what to think of it.
Yeah.
Creature collecting open world action adventure filled with intriguing stories set in a unique, vibrant world. Befriend the adorable Dokebi that gain strength and encourage people's dreams. Get ready to embark on okay, so their website basically just doesn't have a lot of information on it, but what a weird thing, though. So even so, it looks interesting. I just don't know if it's something I'm going to touch myself either. I just find it very bizarre. I don't know. I mean, it's in the world of games that we've seen since since Pokemon has come out, it's not a surprise to even see later on in life what kind of comes up here, especially because a lot of people after Pokemon Sword and Shield came out were like, oh, we got somewhat of an open world Pokemon game. It's like, well, let's go ahead and take that model and make it into something
MMO. Bigger. Yeah.
Right. Well, it looks like the MMO part is potentially gone.
Oh,
looks like it's more specifically just open world standalone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But even so with that, it's just like, it's one of those things that's like Pokemon just hadn't adapted really to the open world stuff. And then Pokemon Legends Arceus was, announced and then fully shown off. So this is going to be more of a competition to it. But even so, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll try to look up more stuff as time goes on, though, too. But anyway, let's move on to our next story.
I'm not entirely certain right before we move on.
What's up?
think I found a pre-registration for a mobile Android version of DokeV.
Wouldn't be surprised with the success of Genshin Impact to see it cross over.
Yeah, I mean, it is a possibility. I mean, you can pre-register for it. I found it at taptap.io. Probably still just available through Google Play or Apple App Store. So if you're interested and want to check it out or try and get ahead of the game, maybe pop on there and see about it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, in the world of games, of course, things are never just black and white here. You know, everything just kind of carries on as it does, and people start to enter the space that you didn't expect to. And one of those is Netflix. So we talked about it previously that Netflix was getting into games. They said they were going to start working on stuff game-wise, having some sort of like game launcher built into their app. And they have rolled out a preview of this in, of all places, Poland. No idea why. Yeah, so I'm going to bring up the actual article here from nme.com to show you all what this sort of looks like. So what they're doing here is that they launched this trial and they've got two games that are built into it. It's Stranger Things 3 and Stranger Things 1984. So these are tie-ins, of course, with the Netflix games or the Netflix series of the same name. But what they do is that it's only on Android right now and it's only in Poland. But what they do is in their Netflix launcher, they have the game section in there. But what it does is when you go to download the game, you're required to link your Netflix credentials with the game itself, and you download it from the Google Play Store. Once you download it and get it there, which if it's a paid game, then it's all linked together and you can start playing to your heart's content. It's a very interesting way to kind of like bridge all that stuff together. I mean, we've seen logins, of course, for, you know, one thing to be used for multiple things. I mean, look at like Facebook's login, you know, you can use it to log in all these other things. Twitter's the same way. Google, Apple, whatever. It's all there. So, bye, Charlie. So they've kind of rolled this out here, and that's one of their requirements and such too. It's a very interesting thing to see. So let me go ahead and open up Twitter here really
That
quick.
kind of makes me wonder, could we potentially see Netflix as a home for Google Stadia?
I would be kind of curious to see what happens there too. I mean, with the ongoing litigation in the Epic versus Apple lawsuit right now, and even the Epic versus Google lawsuit too, that's still working its way up, and some of the things revealed about Netflix's most recent, or what was it? It came out about Netflix's pay cut or revenue sharing cut difference that they had to do with Google, or Google did with them, excuse me, so that way they make a little bit more money. You know, I don't know if they will necessarily, but who knows?
Yeah.
So, excuse me. So it's limited right now, specifically, of course, to Poland, limited to Android. But it's not a surprise for it to be limited to Android because, for anybody who saw the news there, of course, you know, earlier this year, late last year, about the struggles for Xbox game streaming to make its way to iOS was because of Apple's requirement that every game that came on had to be installed individually and rated and reviewed individually as a separate app. So that's why Xbox came out with doing game streaming through a browser. So maybe that's the reason why Netflix is hesitating on this one. They don't have any sort of integration where it's easy to kind of bridge that gap with iOS. We just kind of have to kind of assume at least on that much right now based on the information that's out. But hey, they're doing something. It's a couple games that are tied in with series that they have. So hey, good for them. I don't know really what it means for gaming though, but hey, whatever.
I think they're going to have to develop a partnership like with Stadia or with someone big. More, I mean, they've already obviously have some partnership with Google, but I mean, they've got to expand on it to like house something like Stadia, maybe offer a couple different tiers of membership so you get to play, you know, mobile games, and then you get to play your full version, you know, console PC games if you really wanted to, but it comes at a premium rate.
Yeah, absolutely. And it probably will.
So.
It most likely will. And that's where all the tie-in comes into, because Netflix has said
Yeah.
they're not even going to be raising prices either. But
that's the thing. I think they're gonna hit a wall, and they're gonna realize they're gonna have to. They've raised prices consistently by a buck or two every year, it seems like, for the last how many years now.
Yeah, no, you're right on that part. I think what I'm getting more at though is that they're not going to be like putting in ads or anything for their games either, or at least for their game section. It's just all rolled into the existing subscription they have now. I know there's another tier up you can pay for like 4K streaming and such, but at the end of it, I don't know what that really means for gaming going forward anyways. Two games that are tied in with series they already have. They're only doing it in one market. We don't know what else is going to happen. So
it could fail still.
Very well could. Very well could. Now, let's just do this here. We're going to do this just as I think a quick little quip on this next story here and then move on. But in our next story here, of course, Pokemon Go, of course, made big changes back at the start of the pandemic to make sure that people could still play while they were stuck in their homes. So you didn't have to travel around and visit all the Pokestops and, potentially spread COVID. Well, after the vaccine started getting distributed, it was around the beginning of this summer that they started making plans on putting things back to the way they were before the pandemic in the app itself, regarding distances you need to be from gyms and Pokestops, the amount of drops that you actually got, all that. So what's happening is that Niantic has decided to go ahead and reverse course on one thing in particular, and that is the amount of distance that the actual radius that you can be within for Pokestops. And according to this article from Engadget, it says that the company said the radius would return to 80 meters from now on, after saying the distance would be reduced back to its pre-pandemic size. So the distance from a Pokestop before you can actually interact with it is back to 80 meters. And that, of course, allows additional spacing, given that we are in the midst of the Delta variant right now. We are in our fourth wave. So this is a good thing on them, at least, to go ahead and start doing, especially because we are in those warmer months and warmer time periods where people are still going to be out and about walking. Of course, because we're in school season, though, too, it's not going to be as many during the daytime, but it's still at least one way to make people feel safer.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think that's really all there is to say about it, Kyle. I don't know
I mean,
if there's really much else.
It's a minor U-turn, but I think long run it's gonna keep the game going longer. I feel like Pokemon Go will always have an audience, even if it's just a small one. But I feel like it gives it more longevity, especially during these times. So
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. You know, it's
well,
a
and
great
it keeps
thing
people playing afterwards too. That's the thing.
True. I 100% agree. You know, it's at least they're taking in the feedback. They're at least, they're at least understanding, hey, there is things going on that we need to be able to be cognizant of, especially because this is the way we market this game, is that this is a game that we market. So that way we know for a fact that, our players are going to be out and about. They're going to be interacting in this fashion. And we know that if we make any changes, especially in the midst right now, we're going to run into a problem. So we need to make that change. Anyway, but that was just a little quip I wanted to make there, of course, especially about Pokemon Go, because there are a lot of people who play it. So, at least for those of you who still play it, you can be much safer. And I've got something in my eye that is bugging the ever-loving crap out of me. Oh, God, that hurts. Okay. I don't know what it is. Regardless. All right. Let's move on here to the next thing. And this is, I think, a fun one for sure. Let me go ahead and actually get the video started here, and I'll flip over to it. Let's see, and video capture. All right. So we got a new trailer for Metroid Dread. So this is the second trailer, and it reveals what appears to be potentially the main baddie in Metroid, or at least Metroid Dread itself. So this trailer directly from Nintendo, of course, is kind of what appears to be digging more into like the history of some of the things we actually saw in previous and original Metroid games. I know that if I talked to like Ben, for an example, Kyle, that he would be able to say, "Oh yeah, this, and this." Like,
yeah,
but
talk about the Chozos and
there's
and
Kraid.
everything.
Yeah, of course, there in the trailer for a second, we saw the return of Kraid being chained up, of course, so you have something to do with him at some point. But what it looks like here is the enemies, at least, or this big baddie that Samus is fighting here in the trailer. If anybody remembers from previous Metroid games, the statues where you'd actually pick up, say, like the different power-ups and that, as you progress through the game, some of the enemies you're fighting here, especially this one, actually look like those statues in particular. So this seems like
those
it digs
are the Chozos.
Thank you. Yeah. So that seems like it really emphasizes more of the lore of what Metroid has been anyway, at least. And again, I'm not one who's played like a lot of Metroid. I feel like I know enough to get by, but I'm not all the way there. So
see, and I've played Metroid, but I've never really paid attention to the story per se. I've always loved the games. I've completed the Super NES one, so I mean I'm happy I at least did that. And played through all the GBA and DS ones, so but I don't know. I really enjoy Metroid games. I enjoy the style. Because I'm a big Castlevania fan too. So I like those adventure, uncover the map and get your special abilities type games. I don't know. It's really cool that the new trailer shows off a whole different aspect. That I mean, the first trailers, you're thinking you're gonna be going up against a robot, and that's not even the main bad guy, and that's a major threat as well. So I mean, we might be getting a little bit bigger Metroid game than your average handheld.
Hey, Charlie, what are you doing? I got one of the little doggos visiting me here. Hi, Charlie. Hey, pupper. Are you gonna pick this up though?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you going to pick this up is the thing, because like you said, you didn't.
And
pay
I'll
attention to a
even
lot of the
I'll even
lore.
attempt to I'll even attempt to get the amiibos. I mean, I'm not gonna fight to get them, but if I see them in the shop, I'll definitely pick them up.
Okay, yeah, I would probably pick up the amiibos myself. I'm actually holding on to my Switch Lite right now because I was planning on selling it, but Pokemon Legends Arceus and Metroid Dread actually look cool enough that I think I'm going to hold on to it for the time being. and potentially pick those up. But the wife stole it from me to start going through some of the Mario games so she can start playing through Mario 35. Yeah. So yay for that, I suppose, at least at getting some use. But I'm going to have to read some more up on the lore here of stuff from Metroid Dread especially and some of these other things too. Because
if you haven't played it, definitely play at least the Super NES Metroid. I mean, you've got Switch, you've got the Switch Online. It's available through the Super NES app.
I've got the Super Nintendo Classic. It's on there.
Oh yeah, play it definitely. And I mean, at least with these amiibos, because I feel like with the Loftwing amiibo, it kind of added a game breaker into the game. I mean, you could return to the sky anytime, refill all your bombs and arrows and hearts, and you were good to go. And you could do that anytime if you had the amiibo. With this, it does give you an extra missile pod one time per playthrough. For, I want to say, if you're using the robot, I don't know what the robot is called. But if you're using the amiibo of the robot, and then if you're using the amiibo of Samus, it will give you one extra health pod one time per playthrough. And then each of them will fill you up, what is it, like 3 times or a day? Something like that?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think each of them will fill you up like once or 3 times a day on missiles or health per depending on the amiibo, of course. So I mean, it's cool, but it's not game breaking, and I like that they did that. But it definitely makes it worth picking them up just to get the extra little health boost, extra little missile pod.
It's not a bad consideration there. So Alex added here really quick before we move on to our last little bit for tonight. He says the Chuzzo statues were an alien reference originally. It became more than that later, but that was the original idea, which I guess thinking about some of the stuff from like the original Alien and that I guess I can see that,
It makes sense.
Yeah. And for it to evolve into its own thing is not a bad thing either. So, hey, good on them, I suppose.
Yeah.
But let's wrap up here with something that normally we don't do anyway. And of course that's a TikTok. So, let me throw that up here, and then we'll talk about what this TikTok actually means here. So,
For context, this is what the original PS5 looks like, and this is the tiny heatsink on the new one. It's literally about half the size and over a half a pound lighter. So if you want to know how to tell the difference between the new PS5 and the old one, check the model number. The old model that has the better thermal performance is the 1015B.
So I'll mute that now here, of course, because goddamn is Austin Evans loud. So as a lot of people could see there, of course, hopefully, at least they could see that. Austin Evans has a full video that I wasn't aware of, but I'll have to go watch here later on. Is that the PlayStation 5 actually has shrunk on its heatsink here. So there, I'll pause it a bit so you can kind of see here on the screen. But yeah, the PlayStation 5 was recently found to have like some sort of new, like Sony has put out some sort of new model of the PlayStation 5. And originally some people were saying that it was to address issues with Wi-Fi. Hope you're not doing anything you're not supposed to, dog. Keep on sniffing around. So, but yeah, they were doing that to address
Let me
the
stop
Wi-Fi.
you there.
Fine. Stop me there. I've stopped.
Because I did watch the Austin video. They cracked them open. They started with the weight, of course, the 300 gram difference or whatever.
Right.
They start with the screw. Not a big deal. It's a different screw. It is easier to take off.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they had done that too.
Yeah, when they get inside the consoles, there's different wires, but he took a picture of the Wi-Fi module. It's the same module.
Really? Okay.
They use different wires, different colored wires, but if I recall from the video, because I watched it like an hour before we hopped on. I watched it tonight. It was actually posted today. Yeah, the module hasn't changed. But immediately, the first thing you see, because obviously this is the inside panel of the panel, if you back up the video a little bit, the copper plate is part of the heat sink. You could actually see that peeking out of the real video, or in the video when they take them apart. You can see the actual lip of that copper heat sink poking out in spots, and it's very apparent that it's not there whatsoever in the new unit. When they did hit it with the heat, I want to say they're both warm boys. Even just idled in a game, I think the previous gen idled at like 51. Now, the new gen idles at like 55, 56 or something, and that was at a low gain or just a low idle screen or whatever. But, I mean, a couple degrees Celsius is almost like 10 degrees Fahrenheit is one thing that they point out in Austin's video. I don't know. They really jacked this up. And it's funny, too, because they changed the fan. The fan does have full blades now. They do not cut off in the center, but the fans weigh the exact same amount. So, yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I had to interrupt. I watched it. It's actually kind of appalling that they tried to pull it. And obviously it is them trying to make up with cheaper parts. So Sony did say that the previous, and it's something that they point out in the video, that Sony did say the previous gen console is now turning a profit. I want to say that is for the disc model. It does not affect the discless version,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken. However, this is a discless version that they took apart. Does this bridge the gap to create the profit margin that they wanted now?
That's a good question, actually. I mean, I'm looking at the
Are we
size of
cutting
the
corners?
Like I'm looking at the size of the heatsink here, at least from where I paused the TikTok video at, and you can actually see like matching up against cutouts and that where it's pulled away from and such too. And it's like it's very possible because getting rid of it looks like they went from copper to aluminum, at least as the base plate itself. And that right there, of course, probably has changed the temperature. But I'm sure that because of the importance of copper being a being a conductor anyway, as it is in wiring and electronics and all that, that I'm sure that they had to make a sacrifice in one form or another, and that this was a different way to do it. I just think it's silly that they did so, and I just don't know. Like, I don't know what to think there.
If you've got a system that's running hotter in general, and then it doesn't have the proper cooling solution to boot, that's a recipe for disaster. And everyone knows that the PS3 had cooling problems. The PS4 had cooling problems. Shoot, even the PS4 Pro sounded like a jet engine taking off.
Yeah,
running some really games. Did. You think about you pop in a copy of God of War on PS4 Pro. Yeah, it ran like a champ, but you also heard it running like a champ too.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the TV. I'm talking the console, just like a jet engine outside your house. So obviously cooling has been a thing. I don't know if that's where they should have cut the corners. Maybe they should have made the screw plastic.
Maybe. Oh my gosh, maybe. Or made it instead where it didn't need a screw, that it just clipped in a better way. It's one less thing. So, but
they made a lot of research and development into making this nifty console that you could pop apart so easily and stuff. But then, if it melts together, how is that gonna matter?
Yeah. If it's going to melt together, God, I just can't imagine what else they're going to be able to do for cooling. Liquid cool the son of a bitch. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. But even so, right, that was kind of the last thing I wanted to wrap up with there, because it was definitely an interesting kind of development in the world of the PlayStation especially. But anyway, that is it actually for the news for us, at least this week. There's a lot of other things we didn't cover, a lot of other Gamescom news that's out there too. Go and check out some of that as well. Let us know what you think on the Gamescom stuff. We'll do our best to kind of do a wrap up, especially here this next week too, for anything that we definitely missed. You know, there was a lot that happened. But in the meantime, of course, that is it for us on the news. So if you're watching us, of course, on Facebook, make sure to hit that like button so that way you know when we're posting anything on our Facebook, that you get it right then and there on your Facebook page. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so when we do go live, it shows right up in your feed that much faster. Of course, the main thing that we do is our podcast. If you want to find out more about our podcast, head over to our homepage, anchor.fm/the-NPCs-podcast. All the links to our social media, our platforms, as well, of course, any podcast platform that you yourself like, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whichever. There's a bunch of them that we're on that I didn't mention there, but all the links are over there on our anchor.fm page. With that, of course, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to this week's news roundup. We will catch you guys all next week.
Bye-bye.